Hi, you're listening to When Isabel Met Aviva, a podcast about rom-coms, female-driven screenwriting, and how to break into the entertainment industry. I'm Isabel.
And I'm Aviva.
And welcome to Season 2, Episode 1. It's a new year, a new season. We have a new podcast guest that we're really excited about today.
Yeah. We are chatting with Ilana Wolpert. And I hope I said her last name right.
I was just going to say, I'm like, is that how you pronounce your name? Because I
so
totally didn't even think about it.
It's definitely Ilana. And she wrote the biggest rom-com of 2023, and I guess kind of this year too, right? Like, I mean, it's still doing amazing.
2 weeks.
It is the biggest rom-com now.
Yeah.
Anyone But You, which is in theaters, and Isabel and I both individually saw it recently, and I was thinking when I saw it, we should chat with the screenwriter because it is just so in alignment with the types of projects we love. So we reached out and here we are, and we're about to chat with her.
Yay! I'm so excited because I don't really know anything about her. So I'm kind of going into this interview without much. Well, I know a little bit. You told me a few things, but I kind of want to keep
podcast episodes.
Yeah, I want it to be a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah. And I also wanted to say, of course, that the film is a $25 million film, which I'm sure we'll discuss. And that is pretty big budget for a rom-com.
Yeah.
So hashtag goals. Want to make a $25 million rom-com, please. And yeah, so we're really excited to chat with her. It's a Shakespearean adaptation, which is always a fave.
Much ado about nothing.
And yeah, so should we start chatting with her?
Yeah, let's get Ilana in the podcast. I guess why don't we start by, could you tell us a little bit about your background? Like, how did you get into screenwriting? And how did you get your first, opportunity in the industry?
So I grew up in Florida, South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, and I went to Duke University, and I very fortunately met my best friend there who was sort of inclined towards screenwriting, and she had gone out to LA and done an internship at UTA, and she sort of kind of knew a little bit more than I did, which was a low bar because I knew zero about anything. And I took one screenwriting course at Duke, and I had always loved TV and movies, and that was always something that I loved, but I just didn't know. I really I knew it was a job, but I also didn't know how I would ever break in, because I was like, why would I ever move to California? That's crazy. And I took this one screenwriting class, and my best friend was like, great, you loved it and you want to be a writer, and now we're gonna move to LA together. And I was like, okay. Sounds good, I guess. So I moved to LA, never been here before. It was terrifying, and didn't drive for a month because I was afraid to leave the house. Second I pulled my car out of my garage, I hit another car in the garage. It was awful. It was so scary. But yeah, so I the first job I got was I was someone's personal assistant, and I had a lot of other assistant jobs after that. And honestly, the way that I broke in as a writer was I was working on a show, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and our showrunner, Ilana Wolpert, who's just amazing, had said at the end of this season, all the assistants give me a script and I'll read it and I'll give you feedback and I'll help you if I can, but this is something, we're starting the season, you have, however many months to get a script to be good enough that you want to read it. And I took that deadline so seriously, and I was like, okay, I've written a bunch of stuff, but nothing had really felt right. And I sort of was like, I'm going to write a sample that really feels like me and feels like something that I relate to and am proud of. And so I wrote this sample and edited it a million times, honed it a million times, and when it was, ready by the end of the season, I ended up also sending it to a friend of mine who then became my agent, and I got a bunch of meetings from it and ended up selling it as a pilot, and it went really far. But I'm so grateful that I had that deadline, and also that opportunity from Ilana to be like, I will read something you write, it has to be good. Not it has to be good, but she was like, yeah, you don't want to send me something that you wrote the night before. So and then that script has given me so much mileage, which is kind of crazy. I got hired on High School Musical because of that sample, and I'm on a new show now, and got hired on it because of that sample too. So it's 4 years. It's taken me pretty far. So that's very cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, if the Devil Wears Prada screenwriter wants to read something, I'd feel really motivated as well.
I was so lucky to be on that show just because it was like the best environment. It was so many writers who, I mean, I'm in touch with all of them. They're all so amazing and supportive and lovely, and everyone just wanted to help each other. And like, it really started from the bottom up. It was such a show. We were so lucky that it ran for 4 seasons. I was only on the last season. So many people got promoted through the run, and it just became that culture of everyone moves up, you work hard and you do really well at the job, you're doing, and then you move up, and it's great. And so I just had the best time on that show and miss it all the time. But it was working on a musical show is hard. It was a brutal schedule.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I love Crazy Ex. That's such a good show. That's awesome. So yeah, we would love to just talk just a lot about Anyone But You, because this is a rom-com podcast. So so can you just chat with us about like how the idea came to be, like when you started working on it? We love a good Shakespearean adaptation. We love Kiwi and Karen McCullough, like all their projects. So fun. So how did it start?
I mean, honestly, like because of movies like that, because of 10 Things I Hate About You and She's the Man, when I was in college, I was an English and theater major, and so Shakespeare was like a really big part of my curriculum, and was writing so many essays and like really going into granular details about Shakespeare plays, and thought that I would do that for the rest of my life and kind of like go get a PhD and live in a library and study Shakespeare. And I took that screenwriting class, and it kind of changed things for me. And I was like, oh, maybe I don't want to do that forever. And I honestly was so inspired by movies that were based on classics, like She's the Man and 10 Things I Hate About You, Easy A, even World Cup movie, and Clueless too, and even Bridget Jones, which is Pride and Prejudice. And so my background was so in Shakespeare and so in classics, and it just felt so obvious and to adapt what was my favorite play, which was Much Ado About Nothing. And I just was obsessed with the 1993 movie with Kenneth Branagh and Emma Thompson, which is so beautiful. And I like was obsessed. I also loved the Joss Whedon version, like every version of it that I could find, I was like addicted to. And I like literally remember I was dating some guy, and like on our first date we watched the 1993 version. On our second date we watched the like 2012 version. I was like, clearly I have like full reign over this relationship. Like I can make it do anything.
That's funny.
Adaptation. So like 2014. And so I was going into a lot of these meetings that I had off of this first script I had, being like, okay, well, this is my like one future idea, is that I want to do this, and I just don't have time yet because I'm an assistant and I have written one script, and I literally don't have like doing that made me like work 5 full-time jobs to find the time. But basically, I was just like, this is my one idea, and I had just sort of been saying it and thinking about it and trying to find the time to sort of write it. And then I had like an amazing meeting with someone who became a very close friend and was one of the executive producers on the movie. And I said like, oh, I've been wanting to adapt Much Ado About Nothing into a modernized rom-com. And she was like, that's so crazy. I literally was just about to bring that up to you. I've been thinking that forever. What if you wrote that on spec and I produced it and we tried to sell it to the company she was working at the time, was where we planned to sell it. And she's, since moved, and obviously that's changed, but that was our initial plan. And so I started writing it, and then ended up getting a job on High School Musical, and so took a break from it. But then during the pandemic, obviously, when there was a lot of time, I was really like sitting in my parents' place and writing it with my dog who was like 3 months barking next to me. So I wrote it mostly in 2020, and then in 2021 kind of felt like it was finally ready for people to see. And we went out with it and got, and more producers attached at the beginning of 2022. We like truly made a list of people who we thought would be perfect for the lead, and Sydney was the top of our list. And thank God she loved it and read it, because wouldn't have happened without her. So that's kind of how it all started.
Yeah, that's awesome. And a really fast turnaround, really.
Yeah,
Like,
I was gonna
you wrote
say.
it pretty recently.
Yeah.
Like that's amazing.
No, relatively like a really fast turnaround, but everything like happens gradually and then all at once. Like when I think about like, 4 years ago when I said this idea out loud in a meeting, it was like, I hadn't even been working as a full-time writer at that point. I was still an assistant. And so it's like, feels like it was so recent, but also like so long. So yeah.
I was gonna say, it's so inspiring to me that you like had the idea and like kept working at it like over so much time, right? And then like for it to come out and like be such a major success must be like, really cool to to like see that happen after all your hard work.
Really special. I think the one thing that everyone really understood was that it was like really an homage to like those 90s, early 2000s rom-coms. That's how it would feel. And one of the things I love the most about the movie is that you like really rarely see people take out their phones, because they're all in the same place. It kind of happens in a contained environment. And like I always hate when there are situations in rom-coms where it's like you could just pick up the phone and tell someone. It's like it's so much better when you could just like see each other and have that conflict, because like that's the movie. And so there are so few times where someone takes out their iPhone. Like it really doesn't feel rooted in any specific time, which I hope makes it a little bit timeless and something you want to come back to, and is like a comfort movie, which is what we intended always.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the use of technology. When I rewatch it, I'll have to pay. But that's true.
Yeah, I'm like, I
Yeah.
know there's one phone at the beginning, and then at the end, people take out their phones at the opera house. But
Okay.
otherwise, like, no phones.
Yeah, I really like
That's
that.
awesome.
Yeah, because I think too many texts in films can be kind of distracting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really, Isabel and I were talking, like, I really loved a lot of the physical humor as well. Just, I think the Titanic parts, and, I don't want to give away anything, but yeah, just the plane sequence I thought was like
Yeah, that was
incredibly
like my
funny.
favorite part.
Yeah, I loved that so much. Yeah, no, I'm always thinking about ways to add more physical humor, because it doesn't come naturally to me as much, I guess, in my writing.
Yeah, it's so fun, and I'm like, so glad that Will came in and was able to sort of give those moments that like maybe were not as theatrical and not as like physical before, to really like give them big space and make it very theatrical. And there's just so many good moments that are so physical and so funny, and which also reminds me of movies like She's the Man, where there's so much physical humor in the way that she with the criminal, and she's like putting on the wig and keeps changing with the sideburns, and they're flying on children.
Yeah,
I
the
love
little
that
girl's
part.
face.
Yeah, in the bouncy house, so good.
Yeah.
I've seen that movie many times. And from the beginning, did you know, like, it's a big budget rom-com, which is amazing. Like, did you know from the beginning that it was going to be such a big budget?
No, honestly, I mean, I think that the nature of rom-coms like at this time, or especially the time I was writing it, hopefully it's changing, but it was rom-coms go to streaming. Like those aren't theatrical
Yeah.
releases, especially if they're not anchored by giant movie stars who you've known for 20 years. So I was like, oh, maybe it will be, a really small budget and it'll go right to streaming. And it wasn't until we started having those conversations, and once Glenn and Sydney were involved, and we started having those conversations of like, where are we going to film and who's going to buy it, and like that, it started to feel real and theatrical, and it was like, oh wait, no, this isn't just going to be a small thing that like slips to streaming. Like it's going to be like a real movie with a real budget, and that was really exciting. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I love
towards the end, I mean, I kind of wrote it. I'm not a director, and so I really wrote it with like no sort of practical production in mind. But I'm so lucky that it was able to really get actualized the way that I hoped it would.
That's amazing.
But so this was your first movie premiering, right? Did you get to like did you get to go to the premiere? Like, how did your friends and family react? Like, can you tell? We always
Yeah,
like to ask people, like,
Yeah, because that's
what's
the
that
dream
experience
as
like?
aspiring screenwriters to go to the premiere.
So it was so special. So the premiere was in New York. So got to go to New York, which was great because my girlfriend was in New York doing a show at that time, and like literally it's 8 shows a week on that Broadway schedule, and so she has one day off, which was Mondays, and the premiere was on a Monday, and so it literally like couldn't have worked out better because I started like panicking in June. I was like, "You're not gonna be able to go to the premiere, and like I'm gonna have to go by myself." And she was like, "Can we not like worry about that in June right now? Like let's wait till."
Yeah.
And my whole family came. It was really, really special.
Amazing.
So it was so much fun. And, it was so great to see like all the cast and to really celebrate this and to celebrate it with all my producers who worked so hard to make it happen and to really like back this movie. And it was really, really special. It was a really, really special moment. So that's definitely goes down in one of my most favorite days for sure.
That's amazing.
Was that the first time you saw it too, like watching it on the screen at the premiere, or did you get to like see it beforehand?
I actually watched it a couple days before, maybe like 5 days before I left. Just the final version, just so that like if anyone asked me any questions on the carpet or anyone was giving, I had to do some press and stuff beforehand, so that I would know what the final product was, and watched it in like a little theater in Sony with one of the actors, and we just had a great time. So that was nice.
Amazing. Yeah. And you were on set for the filming, is that correct?
Not for the whole time, but I was there for about like 3.5-ish weeks. Yeah.
That's a good chunk of time
still,
though.
Yeah.
That's also like a dream as like an aspiring screenwriter, just to like be on set and see, what you wrote. Was that surreal to just see a scene unfold?
It was really wonderful. It was really cool. I think like the most surreal day was that there's a big scene at the end, and so I was there for that. I actually stayed a little bit extra time so that I could watch that scene because I was very invested in it, and that was just so special to see. And it was really great. I think also just like getting to know the cast and like spend time with everyone on set. And I know like they've all mentioned this before, but we like all watched my best friend's wedding one night together, and that was so special. Dermot Mulroney was in that movie,
Yes.
and we had a million questions for him after we watched it, and he just spoke so candidly and like lovingly about his experience on that movie and how important rom-coms are. And it was just so nice to hear, and I feel like it really sat with both Glenn and Sydney about like the importance of kind of anchoring a movie like that. And this movie is very inspired by my best friend's wedding, like a lot of those moving parts and stuff, and trying to get someone else out of the picture in a way, and all of that. So it was so special to watch that with the cast, and so getting to be on set and to do things like that while being in Australia was amazing. And also I got to go to Australia, which is like I never thought I'd ever go there in my lifetime. So
Yeah, I was gonna say as well, like I love that it's a Shakespearean adaptation, and I also love that it's like a wanderlust rom-com, because Isabel and I talk about this a lot on the show. Like we love wanderlust rom-coms where a character is like a fish out of water in a new location. So I think that's so fun and just aspirational and just aesthetically perfect.
Yeah, it definitely made me want to go to Australia. I was like,
I've
never been. I have a new place on my list now.
The last Australian film I feel like that made me want to go was the Mary-Kate and Ashley,
Arthur Field.
So
this is really adding to the genre for sure.
God, that one's so good. But so I had never been, and it was really, really cool to go there, and hopefully it makes people want to go there because it's so beautiful. And I feel like really like we were joking, like if the movie does well, like we're all buying houses like in Palm Beach where we filmed some of the movie, or on Bondi, or yeah, so it's just beautiful there. Hard to get to, but it's beautiful. Yeah, and also
So
too, like
pretty.
obviously, like I've Mamma Mia above me. This is not a real Mamma Mia poster. It's photoshopped with like the faces of my friends. But
Oh, awesome.
that was like one of the other movies that really inspired this, which I also feel like is such like a wanderlust movie,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
so many fun moving parts and so much farce, and so that was very much there too.
Did you have a favorite scene to write?
Obviously, like when the writing to production process is like pretty different, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, the plane scene is one of my favorites, but obviously, like exactly how it's filmed is not exactly how I wrote it. Will like added so much amazing physical humor to it, and we got like a whole plane to do it on. It was very, very cool. And
Oh, wow.
but the machinations of that scene was my favorite because it's such an homage to When Harry Met Sally, when they see each other on the plane and they don't know they're both going to be on the plane. So that was one of my favorites, probably.
Love that.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
and I was watching an interview with Glenn Powell, and he was saying that like his parents are in that scene, which is so cute. I didn't realize that.
The one who like lowers her blindfold.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then
That's such a fun little Easter egg. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Will's dad is sitting next to Sydney when Glenn first comes over.
Oh.
Yeah. So
That's
everyone
hilarious.
really everyone got their family in, which is very cute. Very cool.
That's so cute. And did the story change? Like I'm so interested as like a screenwriter, like how a story evolves through the development process, and like did it change a lot from the beginning, or was your vision kind of solid at the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, I think like obviously the script changed like significantly throughout the development
Yeah.
process, but I think ultimately the story was always based on Much Ado About Nothing. It's these two people who hate each other, who've had this prior romantic entanglement, and now really, really loathe each other. It's people close to them in their lives getting married. It was always a lesbian wedding. Shout out. So it was always a destination. It was always the friends, the same sort of like moves of Much Ado About Nothing too. The friends getting these two people together, trying to trick them into thinking they like each other, then figuring it out. All of that was always the same, and it was always the same beats with the parents, with the ex-girlfriends, with all of that. So mostly like holistically, it's ended up the same, and some set pieces changed, obviously. Like when you're writing with an eye towards production, you know what you can do and what you can't do once you have more of a budget. But the general moves of everything was really the same. It's really, I'm very lucky that it really stuck to the play, so to speak.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, and I was gonna say as well, like it really had all the elements, like wanderlust, Shakespearean, and then the wedding element as well. Like I love rom-coms with like featuring weddings. Like that's just so fun and aesthetic, and yeah, it had everything that I like in a rom-com. And enemies to lovers, like the best trope.
Yeah. Well, my favorite tropes I feel like are like enemies to lovers and also like fake dating to lovers, and so this really has both of them, which is fun. Which is why, like, in the real Much Ado About Nothing play, Beatrice and Benedict are, tricked by their friends into thinking they have feelings for each other, and then they both sort of dance around it and don't admit it, and then finally, like, kind of start to fall for each other, but they don't know that they've been tricked into it till the very end. And I wanted these characters to find out because, or at least for B to find out, because she's the smarter one and she kind of, wouldn't necessarily believe it based on their past history. So I wanted them to sort of make the conscious, active decision to be like, let's just pretend we're a couple because it, solves our individual problems. So there was that element, which became sort of the fake dating, which is, one of my favorite tropes of like, is it pretend or do we actually like each other? All that.
Yeah. And forced proximity too, which I also love that trope. Like they're stuck in the same area together. So good.
Everyone in that house was so fun. That house was crazy house. It was so big and like just so many rooms. Like I would get lost every day. It was enormous.
It's awesome.
It was
Yeah, it was so
beautiful.
pretty.
Aviva and I were we talk about this a lot on our podcast about how like we both love rom-coms. We both are aspiring rom-com writers. And we kind of feel like now, especially after the success of your movie, like we're like entering the rom-com renaissance. And we're kind of curious, hopefully to hear your thoughts on that. Like, do you want to keep writing rom-coms? Would you wish, what kinds of rom-coms would you like to make, or that you hope to see more of in the future? And
I mean, what's been like really gratifying is that I have a lot of friends who are writers who also write rom-coms, who write all kinds of things. And one of my best friends had a meeting with a studio the other day, and they told her like, "Oh, we're really looking for rom-coms because Anyone But You did so well." And she called me and told me after, and I was like, that's all I want. Like, that's really all I want, is for it to pave the way for more rom-coms to get made, or for people to be like, oh, now we're looking for rom-coms because this did well. And there's so many wonderful rom-coms on streaming, and I feel like they don't get their day in the sun because they're not getting these theatrical releases sometimes. And so I hope this proves that, we can have those sort of like fun rom-coms in theaters, and people will come out and they'll do well. Like, I think if Set It Up was in theaters, like it would have done so well. And that's that's my favorites of the last few years, and obviously another Glenn movie, but it's just so good and so special. So I really hope we're in a renaissance. I hope that this reminds everyone that people will go to theaters to see rom-coms, and people sort of want an escape. And I love going to the movies. I go to the movies 1,000 times a week. It's my favorite thing to do. It's kind of my only social life. But I see a lot of movies that are really intense and really depressing, and sometimes like I just want to not think about anything and to just sort of like have smooth brain. And that's what I think rom-coms are about, is like feeling that fantasy and that escape. And I think they're just like the best comfort food ever. So I plan to write more. I am writing more. So I hope that people keep buying them, and it shows that they're going to be good for audiences and for theaters.
Yeah, I agree. We really need like hopeful content too, like just lighter, hopeful, aspirational, just I mean, we love rom-coms, obviously. I agree.
I did go see it. I saw the Iron Claw, and then like the next day I went and saw Anyone But You, and I literally left Anyone But You. Like the first thing I did was, I live in Santa Monica, so I like walked home with my headphones on. I just listened to Unwritten the entire walk home.
Yeah.
I was like, oh
yeah. I've been listening to it too. Yeah.
Well, I can feel for you. I mean, honestly, like I loved the Iron Claw. Like I loved Oppenheimer. Like I love movies like that. But God, it's really nice to go into something and to leave like just wanting to like be in that movie and listen to the music. I mean, the soundtrack. Our music supervisor on Anyone But You is so good, and our composer too is amazing, and all of the music in the movie is so good, and I listen to it all the time, and I'm like, I had nothing to do with this, but like would have chosen all this music for it. And it's like so fun that I get to walk around listening to it and being like, wow, like a movie with a really good soundtrack. I'm like, I was involved in it. Crazy.
It's so cool.
Is there an actual soundtrack for it? Like on Spotify or?
There's a playlist. I'll send it to you after, but I know Will made a playlist of all the songs that are in the movie, and like a bunch of fans have made playlists too. And so it's like if you search Spotify, Anyone But You, I've been able to find ones.
Okay,
yeah. And now when you listen,
they used to make like an actual album, right, for a movie, and you'd like go get it from Best Buy.
Yes, throwback.
That back too.
I agree.
The movie soundtrack.
So there's a bunch of playlists, and then all of the like original music for it is, I know that they released like a little album of that too, which is
cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, let's do quick fire round.
Right.
So just about rom-coms and writing. So the first question is, what is your favorite rom-com and why?
When Harry met Sally.
I feel like that's everyone's answer when they come on our
Yeah,
podcast.
but
Because it's ours too. Yeah.
Right. It's so classic. It's like one of the ones that really, really made me fall in love with the genre that I saw really early. But I mean, it's just because I think like I really love watching two characters who are so diametrically opposed at the very beginning eventually start to, you know, wear each other down a little bit and become real friends, start to fall for each other. And I think like that's like so what I've experienced in my life, and what I really love is like two people really getting to know each other and then kind of falling for each other because of that. So that's, and it's just beautiful, like New York in fall. It's such classic dialogue. It's, I mean, I love Nora Ephron. Every movie she's done I have seen and loved. So that's my very boring classic answer.
So I love it. So what is your favorite rom-com trope to write?
Oh yeah, I mean, honestly, I think I probably would say I do really like when characters don't like each other at the very beginning. I think it gives them somewhere to work from. When Harry Met Sally has it, and this movie has it, and other things that I'm writing have it. And so I am really a sucker for enemies to lovers, because it's just so fun. It's so fun to take characters that far in their development to falling for each other.
Yeah, that's my favorite as well.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite rom-com outfit? So just like an iconic outfit from a film that you love. Does anything come to mind?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I feel like everyone says like Andy Anderson's yellow dress and How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Yes.
That's a good one, yeah.
That, you know, that's so great. And I think Sydney's got so many good ones in Anyone But You. Like her blue dress that she wears at the rehearsal dinner is so good. And then the bridesmaid's dress, I think one is like so good. And we were saying too, like, just we wanted the outfits to be really iconic and to be that. And I feel like they will be that, the Andy Anderson yellow dress for this next generation. So that's really lovely. And yeah, I think that's probably my answer. And also maybe Matthew McConaughey in that movie wears like a Duke t-shirt, and as the Duke, I appreciate that. So that's my other answer.
Yeah, no one's given us that answer yet. Love it.
Do you have a favorite rom-com line or like a specific moment from a rom-com?
Oh wow. I mean, I love the moment in You've Got Mail. You know, so basically I love the moment in You've Got Mail where Tom Hanks is basically asking Meg Ryan to not go on that date with her pen pal. And she knows that she likes him, and he knows he likes her, and he's kind of trying to see if that will work. And that moment when they're standing on the street is so good. And then of course the end where she, you know, finds him in the gardens is beautiful.
Yeah.
So that, and then you know, in Notting Hill, the scene where Julia Roberts comes to the bookshop and she, you know, says, "I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy." That whole moment.
I have that framed on my wall. You can't see it, but it's over there.
Yeah, that moment's just wonderful. And I also love in Notting Hill too, where you know, she says the line like, "Men go to bed with Gilda and they wake up with me," which was like my favorite line. So good. Yeah, I love that. So those are my choices.
Have you seen any rom-coms recently, besides your own, which everyone should see, that you would recommend?
Yes. I loved Rye Lane. I thought that was absolutely wonderful. It's streaming on Hulu. It's about two people who spend basically an afternoon together in East London and are kind of walking through and getting to know each other. And it's so wonderful and really special. And I feel like I feel like everyone I know who's seen it has been like, "Oh, it's one of my favorite movies I've seen very recently." So that's wonderful. And I don't think it qualifies as a rom-com, but Past Lives is just a beautiful romance and really one of my favorite movies I've seen in the last year. And trying to think if there's anything else I would say recently, but I think Riley and I would say, like, if you like rom-coms at all, like that one really gave me all the feels. And then which is a phrase that I hate, all the feels, oh my god. But anyway, I would also say the show Lovesick on Netflix, which isn't new but is a really, really excellent rom-com show that I think is just so wonderful. There's 3 seasons, 6 episodes each. I've watched it like a million times. It's so well done. And then also Starstruck on HBO.
That one's great. Yeah.
Wonderful rom-com series that I love very much.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, we're kind of at the end here, so I just want to thank you so much for coming and talking with us on our podcast today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, it's really great to
get
to know you a little more. Is there any way that people can like follow you online or like stay up to date with like, you know, what you're working on, or I don't know, any socials that you want to shout out?
I mean, Instagram, I guess, or Twitter. I don't use Twitter very much, but I'm on Instagram. It's just like I think it's just Ilana _Wolpert.
Okay.
And if you Google me, you can find me.
There are a lot of articles about you right now.
Yeah, I'm on Letterboxd. That's my favorite social media, honestly. I spend way too much time on Letterboxd. So that's my favorite.
Yeah, that's a great one. Cool. Well, thank you so much. And we're so excited for the rom-com renaissance and how great your film is doing. And we're so excited that we got to chat with you. So thank you. Yeah, thank you.
I'm so glad you liked the movie. Thanks for seeing it, going out and supporting.
Yeah. Thank you for writing.
Yeah, thank you. Bye, Ilana.
Bye.
This has been an episode of When Isabel Met Aviva. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to stay up to date with our episodes, please subscribe. Bonus points if you leave us a positive review. You can follow us on all the social media platforms, Instagram at When Isabel Met Aviva, on TikTok at When Isabel Met Aviva, and on Twitter at Isabel Met Aviva. And we're both on Instagram and Twitter, also known as X. I'm at Aviva Pelton, Peltin. And Isabel, what are you?
I just realized that I have not updated my socials, and I honestly have no plans to. So people can just read the show notes if they want to follow me. Yeah. I kind of want to be harder to find.
Yeah, you're a woman of mystery. And yeah, so feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or need advice or you have feedback for us about the podcast. We just like to obsess over rom-coms and screenwriting. So don't forget to watch and write as many rom-coms as possible, and we will see you guys soon. Bye, guys.
Yay.